have for you is this Lapras Articuno blend. Lapras and Articuno are both huge EX basic Pokemon, and you may have already seen an Articuno 18 trainer deck on the ladder. What is the big difference here? Of course, it's going to be the addition of the third basic. This allows us to potentially retreat a damaged Pokemon and get in for a win when we otherwise couldn't. Of course, Lapras and Articuno both have powerful 3 energy attacks, which is where our Misty is going to come in to help. Additionally, we are running a copy of Helix Fossil for additional pivoting, all of the standard trainers you might expect, and 2 copies of Giovanni. Giovanni is important, as several Pokemon out there do have 90 hit points, but even more importantly, Articuno's 40 and 80 only adds up to 120 damage, and opposing Starmie EX are at 130. So with a Giovanni, we are able to hit KO the Starmies. Welcome, Rafflesia. I hope you are having a wonderful day. Let's go ahead and queue into our first battle. Up against someone else with a silver icon. Now, I do believe that you get the gold icon at 45 wins, but there is actually another mission reward if you manage to get all the way up to 50. Alright, so we are starting with Articuno here. Unfortunately, no Misty in hand, but we are going to have a few resources. But if we are fighting against a Pikachu deck, we are in disaster territory. We are up first. We draw a red card. But honestly, I'm tempted to immediately concede on the first turn. Things are just not looking good for us here. I'll go ahead and put these down. And then, of course, end the turn. We have a Sabrina in hand. However, we do not have any benefit of doing it. I could be mistaken about the missions. I would need to go double check. But I'm pretty sure there is one for 50. Alright, and they have a Pikachu. So, the benefit here of the Sabrina would be to spend another turn before Thundering Hurricane comes online. But it is probably, honestly, just not worth it. Unfortunately, this deck, without Misty, is a little bit too slow to compete with Pikachu. And then both Mewtwo and Charizard are able to swing in for over 140 damage in a single blow, making the bulkiness of the Pokemon much less relevant. I was in the same situation the other day, Rafflesia. I went on a terrible loss streak. But then the next day, I won like 6 games in a row. So it definitely is just gonna be one of those days sometimes. I know in Duel Links, I've had the same thing happen. Even if you're playing a great deck, you aren't always going to get what you need. Alright, so we had an Oak and a Pokeball in our hand. So the red card does sting a little bit. However, no Misty in either. only one Lapras EX is going down. However, you could argue this is a misplay, as a Sabrina is terrifying there. Alright, so we are going to definitely try to power up our active Articuno. One heads is a huge blowout, but unfortunately we do not get it. However, we do have a small piece of momentum on our side from going second. So we are going to get in for 40 damage. My opponent just drew their first Ralts, and we are going to red card them, as it's very likely they have an evolution in hand, given that they haven't been able to play basically anything at all. And this is a very interesting draw. The question is whether or not to use the Curlia here, or to KO the Ralts. If I do, they're able to swing in for 50, then I will hit them for 80. But I won't be able to KO them in time before the Psycho Drive hits me. And my Lapras is not going to be ready to go at all. So unfortunately, we do have to let the Ralts sit there in order to make sure Mewtwo goes down. So a Monster Ball is live. This is either going to be the second Ralts or the second Mewtwo, but they do have the evolution. Are we in trouble? It's hard to tell for sure, and that is exactly what I meant about the Lapras being a misplay. Had I just kept it in my hand, we would have been okay. But now we are needing a huge win from Misty in order to stay in this game. 1, 2, 3, and we did it. All of the energy we could possibly ask for. Nothing left to do but swing with Lapras. Score those 2 prize points. And if my opponent's last card in hand is anything other than Gardevoir, it is not going to make a difference for them. And this will be over. And it looks like they don't have it, offering a swift surrender. All thanks to the Misty landing a crucial double, or in this case, triple heads. But we only did need the 2. 1 out of 4. So as you can see, we are only 8 minutes into the stream, and we've already finished 2 games. I don't think this deck is particularly a top tier strategy or anything, but it does make the games fast. And we have once again opened with a Misty. But we have queued into another Zapdos Pikachu player. We do have 2 Misty, so of course we are going to try our best to simply get a huge 3 energy start. We will drop down the Monster Ball, offer an Articuno on the bench, and in case they have the Sabrina, our Fossil is going onto the bench as well. But Bubble Drain from Lapras on turn number 1. Had my opponent opened with a non-EX Pokemon, we probably would have won on the spot. But our momentum is way too high, so they go ahead and concede it anyway. And with that, we only need 4 more wins in order to claim the final emblem. Off to a 2-1 start. Seems impressive, but it did rely on very good luck. If Minzy hits at least 1 heads, the deck is pretty good. But then if you don't draw it or it miss, I am a punching bag. I agree completely with what Rafflesia is saying. This is definitely a coin flipping deck. Potentially even more than a deck like Marowak, as Marowak is flipping multiple coins when it attacks. And it'll average out within the scope of a single game. However, with this deck, it all is whether or not your Misties are in hand and land. Let's go ahead and research. We will drop a couple of Pokemon onto the bench. But that is all we are able to do. One thing to note about my opponent's Primate is it is only a 90 hit point Pokemon. If Monkey is going to damage itself, then we are in a position to one-hit KO it with our own attacks. And my opponent does not have the resource needed to evolve. And I think that means we want to power up this Articuno. We are going to have our Lapras stall for a while. And then try to get out of there with the X speed. Not sure if it's going to work or not. And this grapple locked could cause problems. Interestingly enough, Monkey is going to continuously lower itself. Okay, Misty is coming in. Will we land the cards we need? 2 heads is incredible. All we need to do now is attach an energy to our Lapras, and it is swinging strong. Bubble Drain KO's Monkey and puts us back to 120 health. With Crap Lock unpowered up, we are in a pretty good spot. However, my opponent is no stranger to flipping coins. If they're able to land a heads, they take no damage from my Bubble Drain. However, I've already come prepared with a Sabrina to shut off this option. If they flip tails, Dugtrio dies. If they flip heads, it is forced out of the active. And with this, we are in a really commanding position. We only need a single point left. And our Lapras is relatively healthy. Neither of the Pokemon currently on field represent any sort of threat. And our Sabrina would guarantee the KO on the Cubone next turn. Honestly, top deck a Marowak to evolve it. Once again, we flipped 2 heads on Misty. And that means we were able to pick up the win. And we are going first this time. Probably not what we want to see, especially with a hand like this. Our opponent is on a Psychic deck. So if the hand scope does not provide us with anything good looking. Basically, if they have not bricked, we are just gonna piece out of this one. Double Gardevoir. I'm just gonna go ahead and drop the concede. Remember, the win rate actually does not matter that much. As I don't believe this game actually even tracks your losses anywhere on your page. All you need to do is win the battles. So, you are either able to bring a very powerful deck that you think is going to win all the time, or you can play a deck that finishes games very quickly, and then just concede if you don't get a good opening hand. This one is acceptable enough to see how it goes. Now, remember, I do not want to be hit by enemy Sabrinas, so while we will thin the deck with our Monster Ball, we are not going to actually bench either Lapras until it's time to start attaching energy to them. Or if we draw the Fossil. However, against a Mewtwo deck, the fossils don't provide very much stalling. Our opponent appears to be taking a while to set up. But all we are going to do on turn number 1 is drop the ball. And a Professor Oak. Things are not looking great. But that red card gets you to 5 cards not named Misty, and provides an opportunity for 2 that are. So here we go. They have given us the chance to accelerate. Will our Articuno be able to do it? Unfortunately, that is a Tails. Conceding is probably the right play here. But we are going to wait until we see what they can do. And that is enough for me. Articuno is out of here. Yeah, I had considered running a couple of Aerodactyl, but I ended up wanting the other cards just a little bit more. I am running 1 Fossil, so it wouldn't be a huge investment for a small Aerodactyl line. You could argue cutting out a card like Handscope or Vetacard would be beneficial. But they do have a marginal value that increases when paired together. Alright, so this is a very interesting hand. We opened with both Misty, and our opponent is yet another Mewtwo player. While a ton of Mewtwo players are only using the 4 basics, I think the Kangaskhan build makes a ton of sense, since it's such a cheap way to get in with early damage. Unfortunately, they did decide to red card away both of our Misty. So we are stuck with powering up an Articuno and ending our turn. Neither of the supporter cards are helpful here. Welcome, Paco. I think Emma might actually be streaming sometime next week. Need to make sure we set up the event in time and whatnot, but they do have some ideas. But at the same time, they might choose to work on a video instead. So, no promises. Not a huge fan of my current board position. Okay. So I can swing in for 40 here. But is it better to Sabrina? I feel like the answer is yes. We want to make sure we get in a little bit of damage onto it. Oh, interesting. Are they planning to retreat the Curlia? I want to say Gardevoir goes up to a 2 retreat cost. So, if they evolve, they wouldn't be... Oh, but they have the X speed. I see. That is unfortunate. As now they are able to casually charge up that Mewtwo from the bench. Let's go ahead and hand scope. See what we are fighting against. Pretty strong cards. Ice Wing on the Kangaskhan. But I don't think we have a clean way to win this game. Even with the second Sabrina, the Kangaskhan is going to be too much of an issue. Definitely want to throw Oak down and see what we find. The second Sabrina is indeed here now. But the thing is, if I go in and KO this Kangaskhan, our entire board just gets dismantled. So I need to send that away and just deal the 40. And then maybe I KO the Kangaskhan and they KO me and somehow the Sabrina does it. But I don't think it does. I mean, I could also Sabrina them this turn. But they would just bring in the Curlia and take a big KO anyway. So, we need to go like this. And then Mewtwo KOs with 3 energy on it. So we can go ahead and concede. Basically, the way that went, even without a Gardevoir, they'd be able to chain together to 150 damage attacks, which we are unable to deal with. I do think I played that one pretty sub-optimally. Why did this stop? and the phone screen decided to stop displaying. But no problem. It is back. And we are up against a fighting type deck. Looks like Marowak. But what is in our hand? Not very much good. As usual, we will try thinning the deck. And then passing with the Articuno alone in the active. Oh, oddly enough, we see a Zubat. Now, Golbat is a theoretical attack against Mewtwo, but I don't think it's that strong. Let's go ahead and see what they are cooking with. They do have the Marowak EX and a Golbat as well. With that in mind, does it make sense to Sabrina here and force the Marowak to not attack me this turn? Unless they had an X speed that I was not paying attention to. I will end here. We could also argue for just giving up on the Articuno entirely and powering up Lapras instead. But that didn't seem right to me. Dome Fossil is going to come in and serve as a potential pivot. But the more I think about it, the more I think we should have just powered up the Lapras. It would be able to one-shot the Golbat. And if it takes 80 damage, Potion is right there to protect us alongside the Bubble Drains. Alright, they are going in. No cares in the world. Will they flip the legendary double heads? 160 damage, KO. Alright, and that is 80 though. Which, of course, is going to put us in a huge pickle unless Misty comes in, saves the day. One. And just one. That doesn't seem very reassuring. We are able to deal 80 damage, but that isn't really enough if we're whiffing an attack on the next turn. However, we could draw another Misty. So we do want to deal as much as possible here. And Research is going to draw them some extra cards. Now, I do think the right play for them is actually to just retreat the Marowak and grab the guaranteed KO with Golbat here. But I'm not sure what they are going to actually choose to do. But thanks to the low energy cost and only a 1 energy retreat and attack cost, the Golbat is able to serve a purpose here. But are they going to have another potion to bring the Marowak out of Bubble Drain range, as another turn is another shot for them to flip enough heads to end the game. Kizu comes down, and we are in trouble. But we do have a 25% chance to dodge Bone Meringue. 1. Unfortunately, we do not. And Articuno falls valiantly. Let's go ahead, bring in our Lapras. And with only 1 point left for the opponent, we are going to need to discard our Fossil to avoid any potential issues. We bring this in, and of course, we are going to use the Pokeball to prevent a red card from putting it back in the deck. So, between Marowak hitting the fighting weakness and Golbat hitting Dark, I think the opponent is running a deck with the idea of countering Pikachu and Mewtwo. Overall, I'm not sure how well this would actually work. Marowak does not want to KO Pikachu or Zapdos. And in fact, Zapdos is not even weak to fighting. It is weak to other electric-type Pokemon. Something like Sandslash might actually be the more consistent method. Alright, Bone Meringue coming in. We barely survive with 60. Of course, we are going to heal as much as possible. And we need to be using the Bubble Drain. That was EX onto the board, and Misty will try to power it up. But unfortunately, we are going to flip tails, meaning a Sabrina would be quite problematic. Leaving us multiple turns without the ability to do anything. Waiting 1 additional turn for the Lapras on the bench is probably the right idea. However, I am pretty concerned about that Sandslash. Even if we survive 1 more Bone Meringue, we are going to be at 20 health, or 40 after the Bubble Drain. I think we are able to safely go ahead and concede this one. We started off with an incredible hot streak. But we'll have to try to play the odds a little bit more. All we need are 3 more wins. And we are opening with a Misty, while also going second. And we're even playing against a Fire-type deck. However, as I mentioned, the birds are not weak to their normal types. Instead, all 3 are weak to lightning. And if they simply build up a Charizard with maximal efficiency, my deck is not going to be able to stop it, even with Misty doing well. But we shall find out. Misty number 1, and it whiffs. Let's go ahead, thin the deck. don't think the Jigglypuff is going to be as good as people are saying it's going to be. However, I'm still a big fan of the concept, and I would love to play Wigglytuff for a video or stream. I just don't currently own any of the cards. Alright, so here we go. That Moltres is zooming. Are we able to land any heads with Misty? Alright, so we are online this time. But I'm not sure it's enough. Once the Charizard comes in, with 2 turns of Moltres setup, there isn't much I can do. Like, all Moltres needs to roll is a single heads flip, and we're in trouble. And as you can see, the opposing Charizard has 5 energy, meaning it is able to cleanly secure a double knockout every time. I suppose I will try drawing more cards, but I am not sure how it's going to help me. Bubble Drain onto the Moltres. Of course, they did not evolve into Charizard last turn. Are they holding it in the 5-card hand? Maybe. But I don't think they would, as it is an unnecessary red card risk. However, that immediate promotion tells us everything we need to know. Crimson Storm. And they already have 4 energy set up. There is nothing I can do here. Unfortunately, the Charizard got everything they needed. I would say Starmie decks are a little bit better, as they can more easily deal with a bench Charmeleon with Sabrina. However, in this case, our opponent had both Moltres basically right from the start, so there was no shot at Sabrinaing the correct Pokemon. So, good game. We are up first. Do we draw the Misty? We do. And we will leave the entire game in Misty's capable hands. Are we going to flip 2 or more heads? Unfortunately, that is a tails. So we are going to just bow out of this one as well. Remember, it isn't about the win rate, but about playing with speed. Up next, our opponent, Negiyama, with a lightning type deck. We are going first and have no Misty. Sounds like prime conceding material to me. Unless they open with something incredibly out of left field. But a Pikachu EX is already on the board with a Zapdos partner. and welcome Dog Thumbs. Today we are cheesing our way through ranked. Our opponent actually does not have a single other Pokemon. Oh, I heard an event go off, but I don't see it showing up on here. So let me check. After ending turn. Oh, thank you for the raid, Toast. How was your stream? I'm gonna assume you were also playing Pocket. So how did it go? What were you up to? Okay, but my stream alerts are on. I'm not sure why it didn't appear above me. They drew into the Blitzel. Unfortunately, that is probably enough to just win. So, welcome to everybody who was watching Toast. Today, we are playing Articuno Lapras to cheese out some wins. The main, difference with this deck compared to a solo Articuno deck is that crucial third Pokemon. With all three of them on the bench, you have a rare opportunity to switch out a damaged Pokemon for something new. And potentially win a game the 18 trainer deck would not be able to. However, the deck does often come down to the first turn, Misty or not. So I'm not sure it's actually any better than traditional 18 trainer variants. Let's go ahead and use Hand Scope. We see they are on an incredible opening hand. We are running the red card. So we want to use Pokeball first and then try to draw into it with our Oak. Unfortunately, we miss, but we do draw our own Misty. Oh, Wheezing Arbok sounds like a ton of fun. Were you able to find any Mewtwo players to prey on? So they are going to Misty first, but they whiff. However, things are still okay for them, as naturally, by going second, they are able to gain an energy advantage anyway. We are going to use our own Misty to try catching up. And of course, we are incredibly skilled at Pokemon. So we are going to attach 6 energy to our Lapras and gain a huge advantage in the match. As you can see, we are able to pinpoint where my opponent made a tactical error by choosing to flip tails. Instead, they should have been like me and chosen to flip 6 heads. Unfortunately, some players just don't see such simple lines. And that is going to be a win for us. Only 2 more to go. Of course, I will send them a thank you. And then we are going to queue into the next match. And see if our high tide will continue. The Pikachu profile picture. Could they be playing the Pikachu deck? Because if so, we are in trouble. We may be going second, but there are no Misties in sight. And their energy zone does have electricity. We are in trouble. Look at all of those benched Pokemon. Oh, and welcome, Callie. hope you are doing well. Is your name actually Callie, or is it from something? Because my first thought is the Splatoon character, when I see the name. Alright, so our opponent does have the Zebstrika, and a red card, and a potion. I feel like we are in a ton of danger here. Especially without any Misty to protect us. We are going to put down the fossil. And maybe we are going to be able to distract them and make them waste a Zebstrika on the fossil. Alright, Dog Thumbs, thank you for joining. I will do my best to continue flipping heads with the Misty. And I'm doing pretty well overall, Callie. Our win rate has not been the best, but that is to be expected with the deck. We are here to cheese our opponents, not to consistently win games. Interestingly, our opponent is choosing to power up the Pikachu on the bench. I don't remember if they had a booster or not, but they are dealing 110 damage with each circle circuit. So it does make sense. Even if I one-shot the Zebstrika, 110, even with both potions, we are not necessarily going to be able to win. And there it is, Circle Circuit is coming down. Our only win condition is to drop this Lapras and then flip a ton of heads with the Misty to KO this Pikachu. We are able to deal 80 of the damage we need. And we only get one more turn to find the Misty. I want to save the Giovanni, as KOing a Zebstrika is our third prize win condition. But I'm not really sure how we're going to do that with the Zapdos on the board. If we ever try to Sabrina, we aren't going to be able to Giovanni. But that's okay. Let's just go ahead and swing on in. Go up to 50 and see what they do. Theoretically, we would be able to play the potion. And the potion would have stopped them from retreating the Pikachu and KOing with the Zebstrika. But I don't actually mind if they take that route, as it still gives us the option to bring in our other Lapras and hope for a Misty. Because let's say we somehow manage to do it. The Pikachu is not able to one-hit KO the Lapras, so we should be okay in that kind of situation. Obviously, we are going to need to discard this fossil, but that is all we are able to do. Is it worth it to drop the Natsume? I think so, because we are going to need to land a Misty and then survive the next turn. So we need to Misty on the Pikachu and then Giovanni the Zebstrika. Hopefully that makes sense. Oh, and thank you for the follows, Toast, Dog, and Callie. Something is up with my stream alerts, or I'm just not seeing them. As I am also double tasking and looking at my phone. Out of curiosity, let me know if you've seen any of them appear above my head. And unfortunately, that is not going to be the card we needed. So, without any Misty, our odds of winning that game were pretty low. So the stream alerts are something I will have to try to fix after the stream. Though I can also try, to send a test alert over from somewhere in the Twitch settings. Alright, so this time we opened with both Misty. And hopefully we are going to be able to land a couple of heads. We are fighting against another water deck, so whoever flips the better Misties is probably going to win this one. And unfortunately, it is not us this time. Our opponent blizzards for 80 damage right off the bat. Even if my Misty lands, I don't have the healing to survive another blizzard. We do land 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 heads. But it still isn't enough. All we can do is bubble drain. But we are going to lose this one. The right play was actually to try to use Professor's Research to set up a benched Pokemon. But that is okay with me. Weekend plans. I am going out on Sunday. But other than that, it's just grocery shopping. And then trying to spend a little bit of time somewhere to work on a video. As I have actually landed my first time that a company has sent me a product. So I do need to go test the product and make a video where I can promote it. And I'm hoping that will go okay. I just got the box in the mail, but I haven't even, opened it. And, of course, I am hoping that I actually like the thing. I will do my best to give an honest review. They did send me the product, which it's like a deck box for trading cards. But there wasn't actually a monetary exchange. So I don't feel obligated to lie about it if it ends up not being that good. But from what I could tell, it seems like something I would have chosen to buy myself anyway. Alright, so we are up against yet another Mewtwo player. They are going to bring in the Fossil, but I don't know why. I mean, dealing 10 damage to it and then letting me discard it for free sounds wonderful to me. There's a slight possibility of them secretly running a Persian to KO this, but I don't think I have ever seen any Mewtwo list do this. So, I am going to end turn. And if they have the Persian, they have gotten me. Now, of course, I would love to drop a Sabrina here and KO that Kirlia. But we don't have it. So, Fossil is going to be discarded this turn. And we will knock out the Meowth instead. Grabbing a Monster Ball And thanks to the X speed, I am comfortable putting it down. Now, I could red card them 5 cards. I'm just really afraid of giving them the Mewtwo that they haven't been able to find yet. I see the question mark, but I don't see what the actual question was. Sorry if something about my explanation was confusing. I will try to clarify. Just let me know what's up. Alright, so I did red card them right into the Mewtwo, but they did not find a Gardevoir. So they go ahead and concede. And that puts us at 44 wins. Only one more to go. And we'll have the final emblem. Oh, sorry, I thought I answered that. But, okay, so tomorrow I'm just doing my regular grocery shopping and whatnot. And then Sunday, I am out of the house for most of the afternoon, going bowling, etc. Which should hopefully be pretty fun. And then other than that, probably just gonna do some work over the weekend on the channel. How about you? Alright, so, landing heads with Misty here obviously would be a huge change of pace. But we whiff. Oh, and a welcome, Cantrip. How are you doing? Alright, we are going to go ahead and Monster Ball, but not place the Lapras. We have no retreating infrastructure in place. Have to finish some projects. What class is it for? Or is it a work thing? Alright, so they are going to go for the Primate. And the interesting thing about the Primate is that with only 90 hit points, we are able to stall for a Blizzard. And with Giovanni, we are able to one-shot that opposing Pokemon. So, I could drop a Natsume, which actually seems like a great idea. Force out the Primate, so I'm able to attack with the weaker swing this turn. Keep in mind, Monkey is not able to swing if they evolve it this turn. So we should be in a good spot. Primate unable to attack. And we even have a potion to keep us safely out of range of the other Primate in the back. 100 damage plus Giovanni seems like a perfect lethal. But they are going to be missing out here. Totsugeki self-KOing. But that is a disaster for them. With their own sacrifice, giving me a point. And then the Giovanni in my hand, providing me with another one. The game is super over. I would expect them to concede here. Oh, doing art. That sounds pretty fun. I hope you do well with it. Kendra says, had fun with the PvP event, and playing it past, getting the emblem to try funny decks, and feed the starving some free wins. I think a ladder will probably come out, at some point, eventually. eventually. Oh, I missed a win with Natsume. But that's okay. The Gargara would need incredible luck to get the win here. Yeah, and plus minus. I also think I will be playing in the PvP in this event rather than the standard ladder, even after finishing it. I'll just play some wacky, terrible deck and make things happen. Alright, so my opponent does have the Sabrina to punish. They are going to flip double coins. But oddly enough, if they flip 2 heads and KO the Lapras, they let me bring in our Articuno once more. And we swing in for lethal here. Our opponent concedes after getting what should be the best possible result for them. And there it is. 45 victories. The gold emblem. The event is technically not complete though, as there is still a mission for 50 wins. So while rolling double heads did lose in the game, rolling 2 tails probably would have done the same. So I can't really say it was any better than an actual 50-50. Alright, another Pikachu player, and I am out here without a Misty, making things pretty difficult. Monster Ball, going to go ahead and get them those basics. And a Greninja out of nowhere. It turns out we are not fighting a Pikachu EX deck, but rather a Zapdos deck, which I find pretty interesting. I normally would just concede here, but I want to see what they're going for. Like, are they going to be able to land their combo? And I want them to feel good about it if they do. A little bit unconventional, so we stay in the game. Obviously, the type matchup here is quite a nuisance. 40 damage is like a huge Farfetch'd coming to whack us at any opportunity that arises. I could play Sabrina here, but all I would do is bring in the other Zapdos and start pecking with that one too. And it says trying out the Victory Bell. I think your Victory Bell does sound fun. Oh, and the music stopped. And it is going again. Have to put in the Lapras. Go for the double heal on our good old Articuno. And we will simply hope they flip many tails in the future. And actually, we are in an interesting spot here. This Zapdos is down to just 10 health, so if they don't potion, our Sabrina is going to allow us to take it out on the bench, while also powering up our next attacker. But we don't even need to use the Sabrina. they are using an X speed for us. Obviously, the other Zapdos is going to be coming in. But are they going to have a Sabrina of their own? If they do, I'm going to be forced to drop my 2 X speeds. But unfortunately, they do have the potion ready. So our poor Articuno will continue to be packed to death. All they need is a single flip of heads to deal major damage. Now, if I were to use this Natsume, I could switch in something like the Zebstrika, but that doesn't actually help me achieve my goals in any way. So all I can do is go for the Blizzard and try to see if my opponent will flip 4 tails. This is a 1 out of 16 shot. Callie, I do have a Discord server, so feel free to pop in and DM me with your art. As a heads up, I probably am not currently looking to commission anything, but I am definitely interested in seeing what you do. And I will also keep it in mind if I am ever looking for things like emotes. Which I might do in the weeks or months ahead. Alright, so we found a Professor Oak. Unfortunately, I really would have liked to see a Sabrina at some point. But we are going to do what we can here. Go ahead, drop the research. Might as well hand scope and see what we're working with. Opponent has nothing in particular. All we can do is end without enough attack to Bubble Drain. Now, the Thundering Hurricanes are probably hitting for 120, leaving us just barely alive. But it does mean another hit is lethal. And of course there is the odds of them flipping higher as well. 1, 2, and 3 is going to finish it there. So I think we're going to try one more game. We did manage to finish our goal for the stream, which was to get that final emblem. Oh, and we were playing against Pony, another player with the gold emblem. And we are first. First is suboptimal, but we do have a Misty, and we're up against an off-meta fighting deck. So all hope is not lost here. Our first draw, the other Lapras. Let's jump in with Misty. Unfortunately, there are no heads there, so we are going to be passing. And we will try our research next turn. And they have an incredible full art Cubone. But of course, they are going to be powering up that Monkey. 30 damage and up to 110 damage on the next turn with a Giovanni and Evolution. Because of this, I think we need to just power up our benched Pokemon. Bring in the Articuno and attach an energy to it. Or maybe it is actually better to go with the Lapras for its Bubble Drain attack, as hitting the bench is detrimental in this mirror. Our potion will keep us around for an extra turn. And red card will reduce reduce the hand size from 5 to 3, reducing the odds of the Primeape even coming onto the board. And they did draw it anyway. And let's see what I'm missing over on the YouTube chat. Who would be a nice match for Mawile? Amistar. That could be interesting. I actually just pulled the second Amistar earlier today. And unfortunately, my opponent drops a huge Sabrina on us. What is our best play here? We obviously are not able to tank another one. So I think we just need to go with the Articuno. And maybe we Sabrina back, forcing them to spend their energy retreating. And it just means the Marowak itself won't be quite as strong on the next turn. Once again, we are regretting missing our Misty. Primeape comes in with a clean KO. We are going to need to draw our second Misty this turn. And we are going to need 1 heads. Unfortunately, we did not find it. And that is probably going to be game. No point in Giovanni. And Callie, I will accept it right after I end the stream, which is going to be after this turn. Or after this game. So, double Primeape. We had been doing pretty well against all the fighting decks today. However, it looks like they are finally going to be the ones taking the best out of us. If I had powered up the Lapras, we might have actually been able to win. The issue is my Blizzard is going to damage that Primeape, whereas Bubble Drain would have given us a little bit of extra health. And with our Giovanni's, Lapras would have been a much easier attacker to manage. My favorite Pokemon is Porygon 2, and its pre-evolution. I also like Z, but probably not as much. There are definitely some other Pokemon between Porygon 2, Porygon, and the rest, and its final evolution. Alright, so Pony has managed to take the win. But yeah, I see some Steel-type discussion going on with Plus Minus and Rafflesia. And I'm thinking they're probably going to bring in cards like Caesar, and Steelix in the next set. But I wouldn't be surprised if they go ahead and bring in something like an Aggron line, or, maybe Bryce, whoever used the Bastiodon, for example. Which I think is Steel-type. But in any case, you can see we did tons of battles today. Not all of them were wins, but we picked up our gold emblem. We got our 5 shop tickets. Overall, it's been a success. Thank you to everybody who tuned in, and I'll be back in a couple of days with the next one. And if not me, it will be another member of the troupe. Thank you for watching, and we hope to see you again soon.